Good evening and welcome to another Monday Night Live. James, Simon and I coming to you live from the studio here at Precision Golf in the UK. We're streaming on Good Golf Coaching and Precision Golf, and we are fresh off the back of a victory at the Ryder Cup. I don't think I've ever been so into a Ryder Cup as I have been on this one.
It was the weird bit. It was we called the score, granted different ways round. The score we all got, but it looked. I mean, that is the strangest yet most kind of you couldn't take your eyes off it. Ryder Cup I've ever witnessed. Yeah. Just bizarre.
My pals, we were having a bit of a text debate at the end of it, and my pals were getting on the US team or on our team for having such a bad Sunday. And my point was that we were never an 8-point or 7-point leading team going into the finals. We were never. Our team is never 7 points better than their team. Yep. We'd had the runner play with the pair, with the foursomes and the four balls, right? Yeah. It was all they were always going to get some momentum. And I think as soon as you go on that Sunday with no teammate and that kind of abuse, tough to deal with that on your own. I know it's you and your caddy, but tough to deal with it with the player, because if you hit a couple of clangers, not quite good shots, and then the crowd get on you, it's tough to pull you out. I mean, bear in mind, it's like 50,000 people in the crowd. So whilst it's a bit upsetting that we did drop points on the Sunday, the victory, nevertheless, is what it was all about, right?
Yeah, and I think what it showed is there's an interesting comment that Matt told me about earlier from Xander Schauffele, saying actually all the negativity from the crowd impacted them in the pairings in the team competition. There's nothing positive to draw on. So, ironically, all the catcalling and amongst other things that was going on,
beer throwing and all sorts. Did you see that beer throwing?
And I think that's the bit that, like, sadly, that's one of the things that'll be remembered for, and that, quite frankly, shameful. Yeah. But Europe hold everything. Every part that meant something on Friday and Saturday, we hold.
Most incredible.
Rahm in particular, Rahm Hatton, and that just dried up on the Sunday. But you also got, we're so far ahead, it's almost too far ahead. There's almost like, oh, well, and it looked like we started off, we had 5 bits of blue at the top, you think, oh, this is going to be over.
Done.
I'm going to go to sleep early. But then the US had literally nothing to lose. They can throw everything at it. And the moment, we all know it, the moment the home team gets a little bit of momentum, the noise level goes up, you know it's a US or a European cheer. And the moment Bryson turned that match around and nearly turned that one over, that his match would have been the Skittle effect with the rest of them.
Yeah. Well, as usual, we have our iPad and obviously the live streams going on, and we will take all of your questions. Simon deals with all of the golf equipment, the techie stuff. Let me tell you, if this is the first time you've tuned in to a Monday Night Live, I bid you a question to him that stumps him, because he is yet to be stumped on the equipment. So come on, let's see if we can stump him this evening. Ask us your questions, and all of the golf coaching, fire it over myself, and anything on cocktails, wine, or anything, holidays or anything like that, James is your man. So let's move straight over to the iPad, and let's see. Martin Williams we've got on. Hi, I was very happy Europe won, but think it was wrong that Victor got half a point because he was injured. If you're injured, that's your fault and should have lost a full point.
So I've got a view on this.
Because Keegan said that needs to be dropped for the next Ryder Cup, didn't he?
So I think I can understand, but ultimately there isn't. If it's knockout, I totally agree. If it's a knockout tournament like in tennis, someone gets injured, they pull out, the player goes to the next round. This isn't that. He got injured during the tournament. And this has been there since 1979. The captains, the teams agree it before the tournament. They put the name in the envelope. It's all agreed. It just doesn't happen very often. But if someone's injured and can't play, there is an element in match play. Well, why does the other team? Look, it's honours even. Everything stays the same. It just, you could argue, suited Europe more because it was half a point closer to retaining. But US were also half a point closer to winning it back. No one benefited more than the other. Now,
I think Keegan's stance
was... Does it change or not?
Keegan's stance was, because it was so close, that extra half point to them maybe would have meant more Like if they,
might
but
have done.
equally they could have lost, couldn't they?
Yeah,
So
look at
so
Steve Pate, 1991 Kiewit Island.
Yeah.
Same thing. We lost by half a point.
Yeah.
Well, was that wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the rules. They're agreed by the teams. You play by them, and you suck it up if you feel like it goes against you. Are they going to change it? I think potentially they could have a vice captain who steps in and plays, that's nominated before the week starts, that takes the place. That's another way of doing it.
I mean, another way of doing it is having a strainer in the car park with your best player. Do you know what I mean? Whoever's up for a fight in the car park, have your team, the best player in your team, and do it in the car park and stream it. Can you imagine?
What do you think? DeChambeau against Rahm? Do you reckon that's the?
Yeah.
Would that be the?
I tell you what.
Basically, yeah, you can't create as much speed and stay down. You're going to hurt your back. So functionally, they need to be the length they are to allow a neutral posture and to prevent injury.
Yes, I agree. And I don't want them any shorter. Ian Murgatroyd, evening, gents. Is it unusual for someone's ability to hit a golf ball in a studio setting is nowhere near the ability to hit a golf ball on the golf course? Good question.
That way round, very, very rare. And I would say that you're more likely to have it the other way around because players can often freeze on course when there's a consequence of going offline, whereas they'll free up in here because there's no consequence. So you often get it that way around. The other way around can happen because a player can start to think too much. They can get very technique and process oriented in here. And then actually on course, when you've got a target to hit at, it becomes more about the target. So I can see it, but I wouldn't expect it to be a huge variable, but I have seen it that way around.
Good question. Good question. Yeah. Daniel was saying what he means by half sizes is, and this probably makes more sense because I didn't know really where he was going with it. He was talking about 7.5 iron, 8.5 iron.
Ultimately, you want to keep gapping consistent through the set, so you may choose to do that with your. I mean, a 7 iron can be anything between 28 degrees on one set and 35 on another. Depends on the make and the model. But yeah, you manipulate lofts to keep gapping, and it just happens to have a number on the bottom. So I think it's more about managing distances, and then the lofts are what they are to give you consistent gapping. So there are quite a lot of players who play a 7.5 iron, 8.5 iron, 9, but it's just, it's all about getting distances.
How long do you think it's going to be before we see actual physical numbers for lofts on the sole plate? Do you think
they're already there on some?
Really?
Yeah.
Who's doing that?
Hogan did it.
Really?
But the problem is, what happens if you then bend it a degree stronger?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. A big X out.
Because we're often going, if you don't ping, have a power loft or a retro loft, so 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees stronger or weaker. So that's why you generally don't see that.
Yeah. We've got 170 of you online watching. Thank you so much. Double tap the screen or hit the like button. That would be really, really appreciated. Carlo Cosentino says, hi guys, great job. Thank you, Carlo. A question for Stu. Is an error the total extension of right leg at the end of the backswing? Many thanks. Is an error the total extension of right leg? You're going to have to maybe, do you mean, is it an error to completely make your right leg straight at the top of the backswing? Well, ideally you wouldn't want it locked out, but if the right hip is moving further away from the right foot in a backswing, the gap between your hip and the foot is getting longer. So if you didn't make your right leg longer, you would actually have to lower into your backswing. So the right leg should go a little longer from setup, and you'll see it more and more in golfers. Some golfers actually lock it out. So there's no problem if you did lock it out. It's just not necessarily advised, but the right leg going longer is absolutely something different to yesteryear. Used to be sit in the right leg, sit in the right leg and squat into it. You just don't see that anymore because of the way we now know how the ground works and helps us really rotate the body. So let's have a little look. We've got Leo. Leo asks, hello gents, getting lessons but can't seem to stop laterally sliding in transition and early extension. Any helpful tips? Laterally sliding in transition. Yeah, so you just need to use your lead leg a little bit more. A great drill is to get your feet together, get yourself halfway back, swing the golf club down, and as you swing the golf club down, step to the right. I won't stand so close to the wall. Step to the right. So you're going to step away from the target, and as you do that, you want to feel like your right shoulder is going to get over your left shoulder. So all of a sudden you've got this hip going back, this right shoulder going forwards, which now makes low point arrive much later in the arc. So it's important that you get that left leg a little bit more loaded at the top of the backswing. You'll tend to see golfers in the world now sort of 70 or 80% of the weight on their lead leg when they're pulling on the golf club. So getting the weight across over there by the transition phase is crucial to making that lead side work. And again, early extension is really the golf club head getting too much on the inside. So if you've worked on getting the club too much from the inside, early extension is coming your way fast. So take a little look on my channel and you can find some early extension videos on there. Hopefully that helps for you, Leo.
Equipment wise, if your clubs are heavy, it will also lead to both.
Yeah.
So if it's heavy and you've got to work the club away, you've got to put a lot of effort in, you're likely to get going, and then you've got to get it started the other way. That's also going to drop behind and do that as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that from an equipment side, that could exacerbate that tendency as well.
100%. Peter Kendall, hi guys, can you hit the CBZ and the CBX for wedges and say what the difference is? I will see Simon on Monday for my iron fitting. Thank you. I'm sure Simon can do that.
Whether we got the CBX still, I can hit the CBZ.
Perfect, perfect. While Simon runs off and grabs that, we have Havis Genji. I got one for mid handicap. Should we fitting the club first or perfecting the swing? I think you can always get your clubs fitted. Doesn't matter how you swing the golf club, because ultimately it's about shifting weight. So if you're optimizing the weight of the golf club that you're swinging, I believe that anyone, doesn't matter where you are with your golf swing, having a fitting is essential, because effectively it's like picking up the wrong weight kettlebell and swinging it around in the gym. You wouldn't do that, you'd pick up the right one for you. So I would definitely advise people to get fitted irrespective of the work they're doing on their golf swing. While Simon runs in, I can't answer the questions on the Precision Golf channel because I'm very limited on my knowledge on the golf equipment, so I'll crack on with my channel. So Master Jake 912R. That's a serious handle you've got yourself there. I struggle to dip into my swing without chunking hard. Am I doing something wrong, like turning my shoulders? Are you talking about in the strike area? So if you're dipping into the ball through strike, what's usually happening is your legs are obviously giving way. It's very rare to actually see sort of forward bend. Normally you see your legs giving way. Again, very similar to the drill that I just prescribed before, getting that lead leg into extension and even feeling both legs long, getting yourself halfway back, starting to hit the floor. And as you're hitting the floor, can you see how my legs are pushing up here? And as they're pushing up, what it will make you do is push the grip back down, and that will really stop the dipping in your golf swing. It's really something quite tricky for amateur golfers to actually feel like they use their legs in their golf swing, because ultimately you're gripping the golf club in your hands, and then to be thinking about your legs is quite tricky. But give it a try. Push up with your legs, lock them out almost in that little drill, because that will really change the way you feel the interaction with the ground.
So I know Peter's been asking this a couple of weeks. The demo heads have literally just come in. They're due to be built up. So we've got them, we'll have them for his fitting.
Right.
But I can't compare them because they're not built up.
Oh, should we show the camera? Yeah, it looks,
it's literally
beauty,
just come in. So you can see it's progression on design, the sole profiles, you know, very slightly affected. It's a marginal change. But obviously I can't compare them because they're not on our demo sleeve yet. They literally came in the other day.
Okay.
So as of next Monday, we'll have them in. But
Okay.
when Peter comes in, we'll have it built up.
Brilliant. So
I
nothing
can't
to compare.
them quite yet. Yeah.
All right. Okay, we can keep that one. We can keep that one. Let's have a little look. What have we got else coming in here? We've got Greg Donaghy. Thoughts on the graphite design F1 shaft?
And graphite design never changed things massively. It's something we've got demos ordered on their way in, so I haven't in-hand tested them yet. But you know, anything graphite design do, they're always updating the materials they use. They're getting smoother. You know, it'll be interesting to see where it sits from a feel point of view within the range. Essentially, it's you know, their shafts tend to be subtle differences. VF was a big change from what they've done before. You know, the F1 FI is also due to have a bit of stability to it. But in terms of, you know, we've got them ordered, and once I've got them to hit, I'll be able to give you a definite comparison of what they do. But so always great quality and always very smooth feeling.
Love it. Love it. Rianne asks, I've just got into golf a month ago. Fantastic, welcome, and I am addicted. I've been seeing consistent growth, but hang on, excuse me, but how do you work on not fading the ball if my shot isn't straight? That's certainly some sort of fade. Well, if you've only got a little fade on it, don't touch it. Because hitting it straight, nobody does. So you've always got to play with some sort of bend. So if you're hitting it 300 yards and you've got a little fade on it, you're winning. Just keep doing it. Work on your putting and your chipping and your short game. That would be my advice. Noel, 1988. Evening, gents. Evening, Noel. With equipment becoming more expensive, do you think it will ever be price capped? And do you think it will hurt fitting if the pricing keeps going up? Good question.
I mean, if it hurts fitting, it hurts the whole industry. You know, ultimately, actually, I don't think it will. I think it'll benefit fitting, because if it keeps going up, then actually the only way to make sure there's value in a change is to get fitted. So actually, kind of to objectively look at whether it's worth a change or not. So actually, I think it benefits fitting in that respect. Having said that, will there be a price cap? I don't think there'll be a price cap. I think what some of the brands will be forced to do is to have kind of two levels of line of product. One that's the kind of top end one that utilizes all the latest materials and tech, and one that's a more kind of moderate cost version of it. You kind of have that to a point. You know, companies like Callaway have had carryover of the AI smoke from last year for a certain amount of this year at a repositioned price. But I think you'll see more of a two-tier pricing structure if it gets to that point. But you know, thing is, what we tend to see is a brand like PXG, when they came in and priced themselves right up there, they were really successful. So it doesn't seem to be a barrier to purchase. I do agree, and something I chatted to with the shaft manufacturers in Orlando, the trade show beginning of this year, is actually, yes, it's great having high quality materials, but there are enough $450, $400 shafts out there, and actually, can we see a few more $150 shafts? I think that's something that the brands need to be conscious of, but I don't think we'll see a price cap.
Very good. Brian asks, hey, can you go over and talk about your setup and how important the setup is in the golf swing? Setup is crucial. Think about the way this golf club is behaving through strike. When it's swinging, it's like we're having a game of tug of war with the club head. The club is trying to pull itself that way. So therefore, having some weight more in the heels of the feet to offset that pull. And also, if you have got the weight into the heels of the feet, when you start to rotate back, as this left hip swings forwards, it's going to create the energy into the toe of the foot and a little bit more into the heel of the foot. So at address, really feeling like you're a bit more heel bias. Getting the golf club to sit underneath you is crucial, because we're going to need to put force in the handle as the club swings through, because not only is it trying to pull itself in that direction, but it's trying to pull itself down to the ground. So feeling like you can actually lengthen your arms underneath you. Then what you want to feel is like your back's going to slightly extension, which will make you feel a bit straighter with your legs, which will push against the grip. And so all of a sudden you've got yourself a straight back, you've got arms hanging underneath you, and then you've got yourself feeling like you can measure out the ground by the length of those arms. From there, from a face-on perspective, we want to see the left hip, left ankle, left shoulder all in line with each other, and then a line down through the left shoulder, through the grip and through the club head in one line. The golf ball wants to hang out underneath the left ear and don't want to play anything back of that from 7-iron down to sand iron unless you're playing a speciality shot. And each club go half a golf ball further forwards through the bag until you end up as far forwards as the little toe on your lead foot. Setup is crucial, it's priming your body. If you were to go into the gym and you had an Olympic weightlifter and a rank amateur, deadlifter, you'd be priming your body in the same way. Doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or you're a seasoned veteran. It's really important to prime your body well because you're loading the structure. So setup is hugely important to not only feel the ground, but to also make some movement during the swing and really give yourself the ability to stand upright after you've hit the shot. So many players we see falling over because balance and posture is out. So setup, absolutely crucial. Hope that teed it up for you. Let's go on to Jason, back on the Precision Golf channel. Jason, where did you go? There we are. Played a round of golf with a +4 handicap golfer, lucky you, and asked him about custom fitting. And he said the issue with custom fitting is you're playing every shot off a flat lie, and all golf courses are not. Before you answer, because it's going to be fantastic, the one thing that probably is most misleading is when you go to a good golfer and ask for his advice. Because he's a good golfer, you hold him in maybe higher regard than you would do that someone a lesser golfer. And I think that good golfers in clubs hold quite a lot of weight, don't they, within them. And as a +4, you go, oh, well, he must know it all. But the chances are, I mean, he's been playing from a kid. He's obviously very talented playing off of +4. But probably never had a fitting in his life by the sounds of it.
So the answer is fitting, you're fitting to the median. You show me a tour pro who hasn't done their testing off a perfect flat lie. They all go to TPI in California or TaylorMade's facility. What do they play off? Oh, they test off a perfectly flat lie. Now, the reason being is that you're fitting to the kind of said the middle point, the median, the average. So you're going to have ball below your feet, ball above your feet, forward slope, back slope. You can't test realistically. It's impossible to test all of those scenarios. But if you can stay balanced and you and the club are working, complementing one another off a flat lie, that gives you the best chance of staying balanced on a not flat lie. And the bottom line is that you're going to change little bits of your swing to compensate for those lies anyway. So actually, you have to do it off a flat lie because you've got to base it around a kind of an average situation. Now, some courses are incredibly slopey and others aren't, and that challenges the player's physical ability to hold their posture, and the clubs can help you do that. But I think that's a kind of a throwaway comment that could do an awful lot of damage, and I just think that's just someone who doesn't, for whatever reason, doesn't value it. It's totally up to them. But equally speaking, you have to do it in a controlled environment because that's the only option we have. We can't come around and spend 5 hours on a golf course with you.
And of course, on a flat lie, there's going to be, on a sloping lies, golf swings will perform worse on a ball above the feet compared to a ball below the feet and vice versa. And equally, downhill lie and uphill lie. So if you started fitting for the golf swing that works better on one lie and then you come back to flat, it wouldn't work out. So the flat lie is absolutely the important lie to be trained on and fitted on, absolutely. Good question though, interesting. Tony said, we lost sound, we're all sorted there, I believe. Sculptura, the USA used the same injured player rule a few Ryder Cups ago. It's just sour grapes from Bradley. Maybe he should look at himself more for his rubbish pairings.
I think it's a very good point that everything needs re-looking at every now and then. And actually, is this the best solution? It's the only solution based on the fact that everything was agreed before playing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to play by an agreed set of rules, and both teams signed up to it.
And I'm sure he didn't sit in the locker room at the start of the week and say, I know what could slip us up here is if someone gets injured. Do you know what I mean? Because he knew it was the same.
He put the name in the envelope at the start of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
So
he didn't have any problems with it.
As did Europe. And right or not right, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Ted Patton, can you talk about players like me? Loss of flexibility due to sports and age, and my former work have a short backswing. Look, I think we're all dealing with an aging body, right? We're getting slower. We're getting a bit more foggy upstairs, losing hair, grey hair, who knows what. But ultimately, you've got to play within your parameters. The crucial thing is knowing what your physical limitations are. Once you know your physical limitations, then you'll know if it's a technical fault in your swing or it's a physical fault in your swing. Shortness in backswing can come from anxiety, can come from an open club face, because the longer you make a backswing, for golfers, the club can work more inside, but equally a longer backswing can give you more time to square it up. So unfortunately, there's no hard and fast rule why you might be making a backswing, but a short backswing. But what you might want to do, check out someone that does a TPI screening. Kate here does screening. Get screened by a TPI professional, and they'll be able to run you through your paces of knowing what is within range or sits inside it. And then that way, when you go and try and work on your game, you know you're not actually trying to do something your body can't handle. And I think that would be the best way to go with it. Hope that helps you. Doug is on. Evening, chaps. Evening, Doug. For Stu, any tips for maintaining swing tempo and all the good moves when you begin to tire at the end of the round? I think if you're working with a metronome on the range, I think that's a great one to go with. And I think if you're working enough with the metronome, when you then start to get a little bit tired, that beep, beep, beep that's going on in your head might actually ring true, and actually getting into that tempo and that beats per minute will be a good way to go. So that's a nice, easy way. Or the old one was like Severiano Ballesteros, not James Hunt. So, that's another way. I mean, any way that you can feel a bit of rhythm to your golf swing, sing a tune, whatever it might be.
Yeah, just don't try and force it. Club up a little and swing. Make sure it goes back to balanced and timing it. And if you force it, it'll go wrong. Just allow for a bit of fatigue.
100%. We've got Steve Johnson. No, we haven't. We've got Ali Nerd at Ian. That happens at Ian. That happens me every time I'm in a sin for a fitting or a lesson. Very annoying. Not sure.
Oh, in a sim. That might be at Ian Murgatroyd. I think it's a question about swinging better out. So it might be if you're in a fitting or a lesson. That's probably.
Yes.
It can be someone trying too hard.
Yeah.
That's something we definitely see. I'm sure you see it. Someone wants to come in and swing it perfectly, hit it perfectly, and actually there's a bit of it's probably not white coat syndrome, but it's sort of situation syndrome where you're trying to lose flow. That I definitely see for sure.
Yeah, I think if you're going for a fitting, always make sure that before you come in, hit some balls, whether it be indoors or outdoors. Get yourself warmed up. I don't know if you see it, but people coming in stone cold. Don't hit many, but coming in stone cold can sometimes, from a lesson perspective, can be difficult because you're trying to warm up. Invariably, you don't go through the same warm-up routine that you would do by hitting a few wedges away and then a few 9-irons. They go straight into a 7-iron, and I always say, look, hit some 9-irons to start with, or hit some wedges. But get yourself warmed up. How does that work?
I would say don't hit balls before a fit, because we give you time to warm up at the beginning. So we build that. That's part of the, as we go through your current club specs and talk about your game, that's part of a warm-up process. So you probably see it slightly differently because someone's coming in and then start the lesson. So 100% in that environment. But for us, you've got 2 hours worth, an hour and a half's worth. Don't use your swings up before you come in. But absolutely having that time to get moving and get warmed up, 100% is important.
Gary Satterfield is on. Hi guys, congrats to the Europeans. Thank you, Gary. Please don't think all American golf fans are vulgar, mouthed a-holes.
Look, you see it at the Masters, you see it at the US Open. We know it's a small minority. It's the same that we get idiots over here as well. You get them everywhere. It's just unfortunate what went on, but no, we think well of the Americans. You're fine.
Absolutely. We love you, Gary. We love you. Sly Town, how do you feel about inside takeaways a la George Knudsen? Is it completely being taught away or on another plane or above plane takeaway? Look, takeaways are a lot of the time reactionary to the ball flight that they're seeing in the sky. If the ball's bending right, invariably you'll see a bit of an outside takeaway. If the ball's bending left, invariably you'll see a bit of an inside takeaway. Again, depends on who you've been taught by, the sensations that you're having through strike. I've got no issue with takeaways not being the top of the pile of the thing that I would change with golfers, but very different styles of coaching, isn't there, around the world? So you know, whoever's coaching you, let them take or give you their take on the takeaway. A lot of takeaways going on in there. I don't mind the Chinese, I've got to tell you. So look, takeaways invariably, you know, the old PJ manual was toe up, club shaft in line with the grip. That's still taught. I mean, you see Justin Thomas, don't you, doing his takeaways. Dad's a PGA pro. So look, takeaways are part of it, but they're not the be all and end all, I would say to that. John Burton, I am 72 with a driver swing speed. I'm 72 with a driver swing speed of 85. Goodness me. Most fitters assume I need a light shaft, but the heavier ones feel better and I can control the swing better. Am I just weird? Well, you may well be, but Simon's going to give you the answer.
Yeah, the answer is not necessarily. Look, we all move the club differently, and we use the mass of the club differently. So there are some players that absolutely would require a lighter shaft, but there are other players like you just might respond to having the weight and something to pull on. So depending on how you build your speed, which muscle groups you use, some players suit a heavier setup than others. And is it weird? No, ultimately, the club is a tool that you're trying to get to suit the golfer, to give certainly the driver maximum speed, but also control and strike. So you need to have both. And if heavier gives you that control and that strike, then it's the right option.
Very good. Good answer. You kind of just went over this, but how do you change your setup when you move up from 9-iron to 4-iron? My swing works well with my 8-iron, but long iron make me feel like I'm standing taller, which sucks. So the ball position, when you think about it, if you were to set yourself up to the golf ball, drop a club shaft down from your ear, that's where the golf ball would be for your 9-iron, for your 7-iron, and then progressively move it forwards. Now, what happens when you move the ball progressively further forwards, your angle of attack gets lighter. Angle of attack is the amount the club head hits down into the turf. Now, as soon as you start to reduce that angle of attack, striking becomes slightly more tricky, because also you've got less loft because the club's getting longer. Your golf swing is under more stress. It is more critical with controlling the low point of your golf swing and controlling the flight. So the longer irons are just more difficult for everyone. If you're standing up out of your posture, it means invariably the grip is going too far out to the right and the club head is getting a bit trapped behind you. Again, from Simon's perspective, could be too heavy, Simon. Or it could be that you've just got that club too far behind you in your backswing. There's any number of reasons, but from a setup perspective, that ball going forwards does make it more tricky compared to when you've got it back in your stance. You're meeting it a bit early, you can hit down on it, but obviously hitting down on it takes loft off the golf shot. Now, when you've got loads of loft on it with a 9-iron or a pitching wedge, that's much easier to do. So have a little look at my setup series and some impact series videos that I've done that might be able to give you an idea of how to fix that. Hope that helps. Where are we over here? Goodness, we've got lots of questions, Simon. We're never going to get through them all. Sculptura, is the DS Adapt X any better than the Dark Speed X driver and conversely the standard Aerojet?
Ooh, I would say...
Excuse me. That sounded
Um,
like bronchial. Sounded bronchial.
Hoop going on there. I would say, is it better? I would say, interesting. So both the Dark Speed and the DS Adapt are definitely a little bit better off-centre than the Aerojet. What has happened is the weight's got progressively a bit further away from the face, and I think the Dark Speed, so the previous model to the DS Adapt, with the weight forward, was actually a really solid product. I think that was, for me, was when we got the best results out of it. It seems like the DS Adapt seems to kind of pop it up a little bit more. Are they considerably better? So a bit more forgiving, they feel a bit more stable. But I think what's happened is they've got the weighting a little bit more exaggerated. They've become a little bit more kind of good, bad. I think it's become, when they're right for someone, they've been really good. But if they're not, the performance hasn't been wonderful. I think whether that's a little bit of that exaggeration of weighting just makes them a bit more kind of particular to the player. Whereas the Aerojet was probably a bit more maybe consistent for flight, but definitely not as forgiving.
We've got someone watching from Japan. Thank you. Nice to have you with us. TT says, Simon, how much distance do you think Bryson is losing with his driver? He was being outdriven by Rambo.
Yeah, I saw that. I think the thing is with Bryson is that when you saw on the first hole, he was the only one that basically got at the edge of the green. So when he gets it right, he's got extra yardage over everyone. The problem is that if he misses it slightly, the twisting and the distortion of the head at impact, because of the greater forces, are that much more. So the volatility of spin rate, I think for him in particular, and we see it with Matt, who's one of our fitters here, who manages the stockroom here. He's up at 130 something club speed. He's pushing 200 mile an hour ball speed when he's really going after it. And a misstrike drastically affects his performance. And I think that's what we see with Bryson. I just think when he gets it right, it's gone and no one's touching him. But if he gets it a little bit wrong, he drops back massively. Hence, Rahm can out-hit him.
Yeah, very good, very good. Tractor Boy Dave. Love that. Love that. Yeah. Evening, chaps. Great show as always. Thanks, Tractor. I use a 65-gram graphite shaft in my hybrid, a 4 hybrid, and 105-gram steel in my 6-iron. Where would you go with a 5 hybrid? Thanks.
If your 4 hybrid's working really well, match it to that. Because if it's working well, then you're swinging it more like you would. And then why would you want anything other than the 5 to match that, just be more lofted? If you view the 5 hybrid as more of an iron replacement and want to play it more like an iron, then you may move it up a little bit in shaft weight. But more often than not, what we'll tend to find, whether it's fairway woods, if it's a 3 and a 5 wood, or a 5 and a 7 wood, you know, a 4 and a 5 hybrid will tend to match those setups, because the only difference you want is the loft for distance. So I would tend to, if your 4 hybrid is working well, match it to that.
If this is the first time you've called us on a Monday night, 6 p.m, we do this every week from Precision Golf here in the UK. Simon takes all your questions about the equipment side, and I take all your questions about the golf coaching side. So do feel free to let us know where you're watching from and any questions you would like answering. Let's get back to Barry. Any tips on maintaining spine angle? I tend to stand up slightly on the backswing. Good question, Barry. Good question. Get the golf club shaft across your shoulders, get yourself into your posture, put your feet together, step towards the target, and as you step towards the target, you're going to feel like your right hip is going to move towards your lead foot. And as you do so, then try and point the end of the club shaft down towards your left foot. Once you start to do that a few times, you'll start to feel like you load the ball of your left foot. Now, once you've got yourself there, then you want to push the golf club away. And now you're going to feel an opposition of force. You've got force going up in the air with your arms, and you've got force going down into the ground that's come off your lead foot there. So all of a sudden, you've got yourself a little bit more compressed in your backswing, good hip turn, good shoulder turn, and you've got a lovely shoulder spine angle that won't be compromised when you push the grip away. Hope that helps. We're working through these
Stuart's
questions.
very good at line dancing as well.
Yeah, goodness me.
Step to the left,
Step to the right, step to the left, step to the right. I'm here all week. Let's go, Barry. Okay, flat line A5. Had my first round of golf today. What?
Ooh.
Congratulations.
Welcome to the game. Yeah.
Where did you play? How did you score? Who did you play with? And what clubs did you use?
Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Yes. Today, obviously, it didn't go great. Why, obviously? If you're watching Good Golf Coaching and you're fitted by Precision Golf, it would have gone fantastic. Would you say a fitting is still worthwhile for such an inconsistent new player?
It's a really interesting question. I think if it's your first round of golf, then I think I would want to let you get a bit more of some form of swing pattern established. Because to fit you now, the danger is that you're realistically going to improve rapidly, especially if you have any form of regular play. So actually get some form of swing and contact going before you get fitted. Often I would say actually fitting first and then is a good way to go. But actually if you're really new to the game, just get the feel for the club and get the swing going a little bit. But then, because then as a fitter, we've got something to work with. If you're really new and the patterns are inconsistent, then actually we haven't got any established movement, kind of the balance of the swing just doesn't exist yet. And then it's really hard to actually give you something that we can say tangibly, right, that will help you. So establish a little bit of a game first, and then you can always build it out in stages, a couple of clubs at a time, but get a bit of a game established first.
Very good. Sackerman Jones, hello gentlemen. Any chance you could explain the importance of the trail leg foot banking inward on the downswing? I've been struggling with trail hip moving in, especially with the driver. Any chance you could explain the importance of the trail leg foot banking inward on the downswing? Well, I don't believe that you should be working on this banking in, because your right hip is, and where your foot banks is actually being controlled by the elevation of your right hip. The lower your right hip goes through strike, the more the foot will bank. The more your right hip rides up, the more your knee will kick up and forwards. So if you're not getting enough banking with your right foot, not something that I work on or encourage, but if you're not getting enough banking, it means that you're not pushing off with your right foot enough, which is not making your right hip low enough on the way through, which means your top half needs to offset that. So you're looking for more bump with your hip and more back with your spine. Again, not something that I coach, but that would be the way to go about trying to fix that. I hope that helps you. Jason, when it concerns a fitting session, what are your thoughts on the appropriate amount of time for the fitting? In general, I've found in the States that the standard fitting session is 60 minutes. That's interesting. That's much shorter than I thought it would be.
It depends how much of the bag that's looking at. Even if it's one, so we have like 450 shafts on the wall and you're not hitting constantly. I think what you've got to do as a fitter, I need to start to learn why your action or how your action works, and then why you see the results you see. And actually, in order to test enough things to dial in on exactly what the right setup is. Now, bear in mind, we have an awful lot of options that we can dial into and build. Everything's built on site. We're not sending a spec to Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, and then just delivering you a box. We get the components in and build them. So we can build to a lot more detail than most. So as a result of that, we can spend a bit more time dialing those specs in. So you've got to work out what too heavy, too light, too long, too short, the right swing weight, the right shaft profile, the right weight and balance of it. It does take time to do it properly, but we go to those links because we can build to them. If you're going to another shop, big box golf store where you've got 5 brands, and then each model you go down to, it's restricting your options. Well, it can be a lot quicker, but you're also not getting the same level of detail. So it depends as to what level of fit you want to go to, as to how long the sessions last. We would do an iron fitting 2 hours, wood fitting 2 hours, full bag. It's a long session, but 3.5 hours. But you're not hitting constantly. But it does take time to get a really good quality fitting.
Asaya, hello Stuart. Going to the range after work to practice those changes when practicing, should I just use a 7-iron, use a driver as well, or go through all of the clubs? I never know how to practice efficiently. When you're practicing making changes, stick with more lofted clubs, 9-iron to 7-iron. Make sure you're doing drills, lots of repetition, and then hitting some shots. After you've done 5 drills to 1 shot, that would be about the ratio I would go with right at the very start, after giving you that skills lesson earlier. And then as you get better and more competent at it, reduce the amount of drill swings, up the amount of reps, monitor the progress, make sure you're not regressing back to the way you are. And then as you get more competent, then go through the bag into deeper clubs. Hope that helps you. Free Willy, greetings from Hamburg. Yeah. Hello, Free Willy. See you 2027 in a Dare manner. Yeah, absolutely. Do you prefer a heavy shaft? I think we all prefer something slightly heavy instead of a light one for a better swing feel. All the best, and thank you for your great videos. Frank.
Thank you very much. Ultimately, the weight of the shaft and what swings best and times best and feels best is going to be different player to player. For some players, a heavier swinging club suits. For others, a counterbalance to lighter swinging club suits. You look at tour, you've got players. Well, we have had players in graphite. Patrick Cantlay's a 115-gram shaft, and you've got guys at 135-gram shafts. It really is so player specific. but being able to test and diagnose why something works best, that's the key to getting consistency.
Very good. Just in time, that's a great handle.
Yeah.
Just in time, our Ping G730 is good for a new golfer.
So very forgiving, lots of tech in them. Bless you.
Thank you.
You know, forgiving head, fast ball speeds. They're pretty strong loft, so they do come out. They launch fairly well, but they come out fairly low spin. But for a new golfer, very forgiving head.
Fabulous stuff. Presto says, I hit 200 yards. Is that for 11 year? Is that good for an 11-year-old? That is fantastic. Keep doing it, Presto. And when you make sure you get yourself on tour, make sure you come down to Precision Golf to get your clubs fitted. Well, maybe do that before you get on tour, because you have even more chance to get on tour then.
That's a good go.
Say again.
Probably find he's 5'8" already then.
Yeah, that's true. No, 1988. That takeaway question made me fat just listening. Really? Anyway, get yourself on a diet. Can you explain a average golfer would generally have a standard length shaft, but I'm 6'4" and doesn't have a 6-inch longer shaft? I always feel I'm totally unbalanced with a 1-inch longer shaft.
So obviously it's
a good question,
It's a very
actually,
good question. Yeah, I mean 6'4", you're not going to be a standard setup. Now, standard vertical commas is gauged at something like 5'10" ballpark in terms of height wise. So centimetre wise, you're going to be about 178. So at 6'4", it doesn't go up in the same manner as your height goes up and down in inches, because we're pitched. It might depend on how long your legs are, how long your arms are. That proportion will change how much longer than standard you go. The other problem you have is that head weights. There are very, very few options for building longer than standard that don't end up an absolute sledgehammer balance-wise. So if you put an inch of length on, you add about 6 swing weight points. It's the equivalent of 12 grams in the head. The longer lever, obviously the head's not got heavier, but on a longer lever, it creates more momentum, it swings heavier. So that's probably the biggest issue for you. So getting, Ping do them, you can get lighter heads from Ping, they're probably the key ones. Overall Titleist actually do some lighter heads now. But yeah, getting the build correct for your proportionate correct length, and an inch, 3/4 inch longer probably sounds about right. But I say, depending how you stand to it, that might vary slightly. But yeah, head weight will be really critical for you to get right.
Golf Nerd 3 says, given there are so many options, how do you decide what sort of price bracket of shafts to recommend, and how much difference is there compared to less premium options? Good question again. Good questions tonight,
great question.
folks.
So ultimately, the price bracket you're going into, well, ultimately one, you'd start off working towards what the best option is. Now, in something like a driver shaft, we're talking some pretty high variables.
What's the most expensive driver shaft?
We've got, ever, I don't know, we've got a £900 shaft on the wall.
No.
Yeah. So there was a Matrix did a $1,000 shaft years back. But you could go to some really exotic materials and create an incredibly expensive shaft. But if it doesn't swing right, it's not a good shaft for you. You could have a $50 shaft that swings right and it's better than the $1,000 one. So ultimately you go for performance first, but during a conversation with someone in a fitting, we have to have the budget conversation to a point. If we know someone well, then we kind of know where their orientation is. But ultimately, it's not a bad thing for a fitter to ask you what your budget is, because we're not trying to stretch it, but we're trying to make sure that we present a product that is functional, works well for you, but is also affordable as well, and is within what you're happy spending. So it's a kind of a dirty question. People sort of think all you're going to do is push the limits of it, but ultimately we have to know kind of where you're at from a budget point of view, because there are some massive variables. But we'll go for performance first. If it's going expensive, we'll put a health warning out there and say, look, just so you know, this is kind of where we're going to. But a low grade shaft compared to a high grade material will feel less smooth and will probably have a little less rotational resistance, so a bit more torque, but doesn't stop it being the best option. So
such a tricky one, that, isn't it? Because there's, I mean, you don't want to put anyone on the spot, and if someone was to ask me how much, you'd go, oh well, if I say $5,000, then you're going to make it 4,995. Do you know what I mean? Or if I said, but you know, when you've got a shaft at $1,000 or £1,000 and then a shaft at 300, If I present you with
Shaft at
1,000
120.
yeah, right. Yeah.
But it's one of those, as you say, you kind of have to know.
Of course, 100%.
It's a bit
makes
like
total sense.
going house hunting, going, well, what house do you like? Oh, I just want a 5-bedroom house. Well, this one's $1.5 million. Well, I can't afford that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a waste of time, and it's disrespectful to the customer as well.
Yeah.
So but it is a difficult subject matter to get right in terms of how it's brought up.
Totally get it. Totally get it. Presto says, thank you. You are super welcome, Presto, and best of luck with your golf. Havis Genji, some said accelerate your swing after hitting the ball, which you can hear that sound of your club after impact area. But I felt like the distance was off and often mishit it. Yeah, really, if you were getting the club to swing up here in this sector, you know, the longer the club ultimately, the more you want the club to swing over here. The shorter the club, the more you want it to swing back here, because ultimately you've got a grip that's moving very, very quickly and you've got a heavy end at the end. So if you get the club to swing too far past the ball, you'll leave the face open because the grip is dragging and the head is being left open. So just be cautious with feeling like you're trying to create speed too late in the swing. You're better off trying to create the speed at the ball rather than too far past it, because as you rightly say, you will misstrike it and you'll invariably start to hit it a little bit offline. Hopefully that helps you. Nicholas asks, combo sets tough for me because of my speed. I prefer having the same horsepower for each club. Would you still want to see a hotter 4-iron so it can start to gap for the woods? 104, 150 mile an hour 4-iron speed. That's pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is most of the time yes, because actually what you're also doing with that tech is you're getting a bit more flight and you're making sure that ball speed progression is there. So even the top players in the world do this, but it's about making sure that you gain a bit of forgiveness, but the gapping stays a constant or a consistent progression. So, you know, you've got a pretty good amount of speed, but there is benefit from the tech, but it's utilising it the right way.
Good answer. I wasn't expecting that to suddenly come to an end.
Kind of rounded off quicker than I thought.
Flatline A5, thanks for the reply, chaps. You are super welcome. I played Stanley Park in Blackpool. I got round in 137 with TaylorMade burner 2.0 and a Sim 2 driver. I have lower back issues, so I can't hit loads of balls at the range. What does that equipment sound like, Simon?
So, I mean, the Sim 2, really good head. And, you know, actually, and this is the person who was first round of golf.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so actually, really smart in terms of picking up, if it's the burner 2.0s, they were, when were they? I want to say mid-late 2000s. You can get really good value clubs out of there. The tech was great then. Yes, it may have moved on now, but it doesn't stop them still being relevant and good clubs to start with. So, you know, it's all about making sure you've got decent value, and then, you know, as you grow into the game, you know, hopefully, you know, love the game more and more as you play. Standard changes, then, you know, updating equipment can then help you kick on and develop from there. But yeah, it's a great way to get into the game.
That question woke Barney up. He's now very interested in what's going on. Clearly, he heard Blackpool.
Blackpool.
Yeah. Big Blackpool fan.
Either way, a dancing fan.
Sackman Jones says, follow on from my previous question about trail leg action, if I may, but I find the trail hip spinning out with the loss of posture with driver. Well, there you go. So if your trail hip is spinning out would be moving forwards. So therefore, you've got to push more forwards. You also go on to say that you stand up out of posture. To me, it sounds like you have got a wide open club face, because spinning out is a golfer trying to pull their path to the left, and standing up is a way of giving yourself time to square the face up. So I would absolutely check out my grip series to try and fix out your grip and your setup basics, and then maybe go check out my backswing series as well. That would be the way to go with that. Golf Nerd, I think the rain on Thursday was big for the Europeans. I think Team USA would be more comfortable with faster, firmer greens.
I think green speed possibly, but actually you could argue that long game, which is why they chopped down the rough, it made the course play wider.
Which is what they do, they did.
I don't think it really benefited. No. It benefited all of them because they could larrup it over and play out the rough. if it was purely because of how far Bryson hits it and might go offline, then it's strange to set it up for one man. But I think ultimately now, you could argue if the Europeans are straighter hitters, they're playing from the fairway, therefore firmer, faster greens benefits the control from the fairway. I don't know. I think they're all such global players now. But quicker greens, maybe Europeans more comfortable on slower greens. Quite possibly. I'd buy that one, definitely.
Yeah, but when you think about the European team, how many of them are playing on the PGA Tour? Yeah. So they're all acclimatised to exactly the same conditions. It's not the same as it was 15, 20 years ago when a bunch of the Europeans were playing European Tour mainly and never playing on the PGA Tour. I think that course setup idea is just make it, sort of mid-rough, mid-width of fairways, good green speeds. Let the best players play, right? I mean, whoever plays the best is going to win. So I just don't really necessarily buy into this cutting it all down and being, that's what they did, so everyone could hoon it everywhere, right? And it didn't work out for them. It was a bad idea.
The one time it really worked for Europe was Paris, where they narrowed the fairways and they moved the spectators further away from the fairways so they didn't get trampled down.
But don't you think that was partly because a lot of the Americans had never played Paris National?
Quite possibly, quite possibly.
And Paris National compared to Bethpage Black, Bethpage Black is seen as tough because it was long, and super narrow. Well, they took all of Bethpage Black away. So they kind of took away all of the knowledge of what the PGA Tour players know than the
totally
Europeans.
The PGA Championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a bit of a shame. I think they're on. You want Ryder Cup to be on the best courses, and ultimately, sort of like a major. I think a major championship setup.
Agreed.
I kind of think you pick a course that, okay, it's a bit different because of the commercial aspects now. I get that from a course setup point of view, or the courses they go to, but stick them on the best courses, get a major championship set up. As you say, best players comes to the top, and let's see them fight out almost without the course being the issue. I think.
100%. You're welcome, Sackman. Hopefully that helps you. Carson, what would be the primary cause for popping up wedges? I seem to hit a 4-iron, 9-iron pretty well, but on wedges, there is a big foul off the distance and just go really high. Well, again, too much loft, not enough angle of attack can be the case there. Most golfers tend to flight their lob wedges and their sand iron and their pitching wedge too high because they're trying to get them in the air. I mean, you're looking down at loads of loft. Really try to reduce the loft, try and turn it into a 7-iron, and you'll get that more flighted feel where you get that grip a little bit more forwards. But invariably, when you have lots of loft in your hand, golfers then add more loft to try and get it up. So that's where the failing usually comes from. We've done it. Yeah. We've answered all the questions.
Very good.
And it's 3 minutes to go.
Yeah. I said that last time, I would totally agree. I thought angle of attack, you see that shallow out with the wedges so much, and that's where the distance falls off a cliff. So, Golfers seem to have that problem with trying to really push it out low with a lofted club. They see loft and they want to hit it more. Do you think that some of that is old? There's a lot of old misconceptions now that we're all starting to debunk. And you look at the players. So the way to get spin isn't open it up and cut across it because you're not even using the grooves. No. But actually, it's square and hit down on it, and then you get your spin.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're really in a phase where people are slowly catching up with the technology and learning. I mean, it's lagging behind, right? I mean, we've known this stuff for a long time, but ultimately it still comes down to the coaches to put the stuff out there and educate people. And I think it's fun learning because when you suddenly realise, oh, I can hit down on a wedge at like 5-6 degrees. Make it go low. Don't make it go up in the air because otherwise the ball's just going to go nowhere. Got a couple come in. Bunkers are meant to be punishment. Therefore, I think it's wrong that a golfer can reach the green from a fairway bunker. I'm not so sure about that. It's precision on striking. I mean, you think about what you're probably referring to was the 18th at Bethpage Black, where a few of them kept on whipping it out the trap, didn't they? But it's only 100 yards.
Wedge.
It's only 100 yards. If that was, take the first hole at Augusta, round the corner, they're hitting 9-irons and 8-irons out of there. You don't see them hitting it on the green all of the time there because the lip is really high. So it just goes back to the difficulty of the bunker as well. Matt Brooks has come in. Grip size. Is the +4 grip with the larger lower hand a legitimate thing or a bit of a marketing gimmick? Will it actually make a difference?
It is a thing, but actually I would look at it more on terms of how your hand dimensions. If your hand extends, so my bottom hand drops down a little bit here. Some players' hands extend out. So that length there, if you're long here, then that's when the reduced tapering effect means it just fits your hand better. That helps reduce grip tension, that helps quieten the right hand down or your bottom hand down, and that often helps consistency. So it is a thing, but you don't necessarily go bigger in the bottom hand to kill the bottom hand and to hit it straighter. You're doing it for grip size and grip pressure.
Anything exciting coming out on the Precision Golf channel? Any videos that you've shot recently that?
We did one with Nick Chilman about old stuff.
Oh,
about our
lovely.
favourite clubs from the 90s, which is a bit of nostalgia, which would be interesting to see how that lies as a bit of two old blokes talking about equipment. And going to be doing some roundups on recent releases in the coming weeks. So on what they're actually doing in the bay and how they're working.
Stay tuned for that. If you're not a subscriber of Precision Golf, go head over there and check out all of their fantastic content. And if you're not a subscriber of Good Golf Coaching, why aren't you? Go check out my channel too. But that just about rounds it up this evening. Thank you so much for all of your questions. That is probably the biggest viewing that we had. I think we were tapping into the 200 and somethings at one point there. Thank you all so much for being with us. I'm not going to be here next week. I am in France next week playing a bit of golf in the sunshine.
In the south of France?
South of France at Terre Blanche.
Oh, nice. It's meant to be lovely. I've not been there.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So you'll be with someone else probably next week?
I'll work it out.
Yeah,
yes.
We'll work it out on the fly.
Hope so.
But thank you all so much for being with us this week. And you have a great week. Hope you enjoyed the Ryder Cup and enjoyed our show this evening. Stay tuned for more great content from both of our channels. And you have a great week. See you soon. Bye.